All right, happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome back into our NoCodeOps Live Community Show. If this is your first time here, we are an international community for people working in operations and leveraging no-code tools to scale up their career. So it's amazing to see people in the chat already. We got Jared. Hi, Jared. Rachel is here. Amazing. So, yes, very excited about interfaces. Today, we are talking again about one of the most loved tools in our community, which is Airtable. And in particular, we will be exploring how to master Airtable interfaces. So, in order for us to do that, we always invite expert speakers in the field. So today we are here with Tom Nassr. Hi, Tom. Welcome into our show. Excited to have you here.
Excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
For sure. And Tom, you're the founder at XRay.tech. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and kind of how did you even end up in the no-code space?
Absolutely. So I'll start with the second question first. So I sort of ended up in no code. I was running a design agency, a UI UX design agency, way back in 2015, 2016. I actually had several, 50 to 100 step zaps, and I was using Zapier to really automate the whole onboarding for my new clients and customers at my last company, Checkmate.digital. And really, after I sort of sold that company, I realized there's a huge opportunity here to just do operations, right? Just automate a lot of the mundane stuff that people are doing when you're onboarding a client, setting up a Google Drive folder or a Slack channel or a calendar or a welcome, email or something like that, right? All these things that just take time. So that's how I sort of ended up in the no code space. It was very accidental. But I think most of us end up in the no code space that way. You just kind of like to tinker around and build systems that save you time. So that's how I ended up here. But now with XRay.tech, we're really the workflow company. We're designing the way people work on the internet with the tools they already use, automation and AI. So it ends up taking the shape of Airtable, Zapier, Make, Slack, tools that teams are already using, and we're automating a ton of different little pieces between the applications that they're already using, and then bubbling up like we're gonna today, an interface to actually see where where the action's happening, what's happening in different apps, or how can you visualize what is going on inside the business. So that's what we're gonna get into today.
That's fantastic, and I can tell from the chat that people are very excited about it. So that's great. And I know that one of the products, in particularly that you're most proud of at XRay.tech, is X-ray tools. I'm gonna drop that in the chat for people to check it out. But could you maybe tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so X-ray.tools is an automation search engine. For those of us who are not technical, it's really for discovering what you can do with the tools you already use. So, click on the link, add the things that you use every day, like Google Drive or Slack or Zoom or whatever. And what X-ray Tools is really designed for is to show you what you can do with those tools on different automation providers. So on Zapier, Make, Workato, N8N, Bardeen, these are all different automation platforms that have their own support and quirks and best use cases and not so good use cases. And as a builder, someone trying to use the software you're already using every day, the software you already pay for, unlocking those abilities that the tool already supports is really, really valuable. So we built X-Ray Tools just to help builders in the community be able to cut across all these different automation providers and answer the question, where do I build an automation for Asana or for, a tool that you're already using? Which automation provider is best for you?
Yeah, that's great and very useful. I had the chance to, and the luck of Tom showing me around. So yeah, highly recommend it. And I love how you kind of transitioned organically from UX UI design into no code. I can see that happening. Like every day, like I see all my friends that are doing design are now getting interested into no code, and so I think it's a very important thing to have like both those skills. Like I always say, like, you can have a great product without having a great UX, behind your website or whatever. Because sometimes, those two things have to combine and work together. Otherwise, one or the other is gonna, create a sort of imbalance, and it's not good. So you're kind of like the perfect mix. If you were a developer as well, then you'll be like super superhero. But
Hey, well, we'll see. It takes time to learn this stuff. I've certainly learned a lot more about JavaScript and writing code, in the last couple of years building X-Ray. But I lean on ChatGPT or some of these other models to help me write code probably just as much as anyone else. But
exactly, as we all
learn
do, as we all
exactly,
do.
learn a little bit at a time.
Awesome. Right. Should we pull in your screen? And I want to know from people in the chat, have you used Airtable interfaces before? Have you had a chance to play around with them? Because I know they're fairly a new feature in Airtable, and especially with all the new features that have been coming out, like the AI and all of that. I'm curious to know what kind of expertise and what kind of issues you might have, because this is your unique opportunity to interact with us and with our guest here. So make the most out of this hour. Tom, should I pull in your screen?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Right.
So yeah, let me set the stage here. So today, I'm actually going to be building an interface inside of our all hands data, Airtable base that is pulling in a whole bunch of data from a lot of other Airtable infrastructures that we have set up. So this particular table is called Slack tasks, and these are tasks that we ended up creating through our Slack interface. We have a whole sort of system that maybe we'll get into today, maybe we won't, about basically reacting with an emoji on a Slack message, and that goes ahead and creates a task in the appropriate project, assigned to the appropriate person inside of Notion, which is our preferred task management system. So, you see the reaction code here, Tom task, that's a task for me. This is in order of oldest to newest tasks. So I made a lot of these, just testing out, trying to make the system work, trying to find, a good data set of varying data to show off, some good interface work. But this Slack tasks data, what we really want to figure out is, hey, who's making a lot of tasks? Spoiler alert, it's probably going to be a lot of my tasks that I end up making and assigning to myself. It's just a nice workflow for me. And what clients are they for, or what are the due dates, over the course of a couple of weeks, right? How do task creation counts go up and down? So I'm going to be diving into a brand new interface for this. And we're going to go, I'm going to go back to all interfaces, and I'm going to create a brand new one here. And we're just going to call this the Task Maker Overview.
Nice. And it's great that you're starting off with a new base. So there is very straightforward for people. Like we're not, step by step, you get the full experience. And I can see from the comments in the chat, some people did have a chance to play around with them. But Richard says, I played with interfaces, but they don't seem as powerful as they should be. Maybe some learning needed. And Brandy, hi Brandy, she says, I prefer launching interfaces for my non-tech clients. Design is the key for building workflows on top of the data. 100%, I agree with that. And Christiel says, I've not used the interfaces, but I am excited to learn about them. So bit of a mix.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think interfaces that are client facing is certainly a great way of deploying them. You get in a little bit of trouble, not trouble, but they need to have access to the base, right? And Airtable is very particular about really interfaces designed to be an internal tool, an internal way of organizing and just visualizing a different layer of the data inside of the data tab. So I do just want to take a step back for a second and talk a little bit about these things. So in an interface in particular, there's a whole bunch of pre-chosen layouts, pre-configured layouts. You have a list, which really mirrors the views inside of the data tab up here. So you have list, you have gallery, Kanban, right? Trello made this famous. You have the calendar event, the calendar view. timeline view where you can actually, sort of see the Gantt charts there. And then you have a couple other different views. So a dashboard, this is primarily what we're going to be making today, is really to um, create a new view, summary data of looking at a table, right? Show me some pretty graphs and give me some top level numbers. You can actually create a form view. And this might actually be a thing. I'm not sure if this is able to be used without signing in. Normally, I would go to a form view inside the data tab, but this isn't one I use particularly often. You have record view, which is going to be a deep dive into each individual record. So on the left side here, you have sort of the record picker. And then on the right side is all of the detail inside of that record. This is a very common one that we use. But
Tom,
again,
can you check if you're streaming your screen at 1080 when you have the option to share your screen? Because people are saying they can't read the text very well. So let's check. Jared, we are streaming at our top quality right now, so it might just be that the text is small because sharing the screen.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm at 720p right now. I could open this up on a different browser and just make it bigger.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem at all. So, yeah, all of these are just like pre-configured options, and I'll get back to this right now. There we go. Nice and big.
Awesome. You're welcome, Jared.
Not a problem. Here we go. A little bit bigger.
That's it. Yep. That's awesome.
Great. So this should be a little bigger. Cool.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Super size on my screen, but that's okay. Yes. That whoever just commented
Brandy
here. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very much so agree. That is the word. You just took the words out of my mouth, right? All of these things are really good to just like understand the base function of the component. They actually call these components when you go in. But I personally, and what we'll do today, is start with a blank one. This is really where you want to go. It's going to be much more versatile and useful for you. So not a component, they're called elements. So inside of Airtable, we actually get these elements. I'm going to need to make this just a little bit smaller so we can utilize them here. But let's start with, I'm going to end up making a bunch of different ones here, just so that we can really see the variety of different elements to pick from. So I'm actually going to start with, I like starting with a list view. So a list view, you can see, I just clicked on it and now you sort of have this ability to place it. So I'm just going to place it in the middle. And then you have this really neat wide versus narrow option. And as you start stacking elements or graphs, this is going to be a really helpful, way of organizing. So I'm just going to keep it like that for now. And we're going to add a filter to the top. So again, I just clicked on it. And now as I hover over, the interface actually shifts to accommodate this new element. So I'm going to add a new element here. And this was a filter. And now one really, really powerful thing of the filter is you get to connect it to an element. So I'm not in 23 all hands. I'm actually in this case, I actually want to make this the Slack task. So here is the Slack task. We don't want to do all hands stuff right now. That might be a little bit too much information to share. So we're just going to stick to Slack tasks. And then we can pick which conditions we want to filter for. So we could say created is within, we can say, the past 365 days or something, right? And well, if we did the last, so you can see the element, if we did the last 1 day, nothing changed. And why didn't anything change? right? We just changed the element to 1 day. Why isn't this working? Well, we actually need to connect it. So on the filtering element, you connect to an element that's also on the page. So in this case, that is the list view that we have here. Even though the source is still Slack tasks and the source is still Slack tasks, we still need to connect the element to that. So you can see in the last day, right, a couple people made some new tasks here. So we're going to leave this to view only, and I'm also going to change this instead of the name. We don't really need the name. Let's do assigned by. Who is assigning this? So this is the Slack ID of the user that created the task here. So we can say assigned by, assigned to others, right? A couple of these were assigned to yourself, and a couple of these were assigned to other people. And we can even see the message, right? If we wanted to say it. So signed, created, automatically updated, drafted notes. We don't need to get into the details of what these tasks are. But of course, you can click on it and have the ability to open it or not. So being able to choose whether or not you want to open a record in detail is something that wouldn't be really useful for this particular interface that we're going to do today with some graphs. But it is occasionally a really, really useful thing to say, yes, you know what, we want to allow this. And then it opens up this thing on the side. And this is going to show all of the detail, or, I don't know actually how it picks which elements to show on the left here. But if we want to hide them all, we can hide them all. We want to show them all, we can show them all. And we get this neat chat here if we wanted to have a conversation back and forth. But again, let's focus a little bit more on the detail information, the overview information rather, instead of like the individual records, because I think that's most helpful.
We do have a question for just getting started. So if you choose one layout, can you switch to a different one, like start with dashboard and switch to record review, for example?
Yeah, so so you can in the builder. So I'm in the interface builder right now. So if you click gallery, now all of these are galleries. You switch to calendar, you can see that all of these were created on the last day. We want to do the last 10 days, and then we get 10 days worth of tasks. We could do 100 days, and then we're going to have a full calendar, right? And you can see all these different tasks made on here. So you can do this. You can swap them really, really easily on the builder basis, and that's actually going to adopt all of the same visible fields and the hidden fields that you want. But it's on the actual interface when you build this for your team. They're not going to be able to switch between these views quite as easily. So be intentional about what it is you actually want to show them. Because a timeline view, right, in this case, really isn't that helpful. I think a calendar view might be pretty helpful for just seeing, right, hey, last Wednesday or in May, there was a Wednesday where we didn't actually make any tasks in Slack. So, yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to let you build, and I'm going to hold off any other questions until our Q&A, cool. Because I wanted to show, how to create an interface. So yeah, let's keep going at it.
Yeah, so I'm going to make this a little bit smaller here, and we're just going to call this one, I'm actually going to click over to I basically like clicking on nothing, like this blank space over here or this blank space over here will get you back to this interface's view. And I'm just going to name this calendar view, we'll say. So we'll make this a calendar view, and now I'm going to add a new page, and I want to add a new page again as a blank. So let's add a new blank page here. So we have this calendar view. It's nice. We can say the last day, or if we want to change this to 10 days, we see the tasks over the last 10 days. Okay, cool. Let's get into some pretty graphs. Graphs are fun. I like graphs. Hopefully you all do too. And we're going to start with a number field. So when I click on a number field, we have a count. So by default, this counts all of the records in the field, in the table. So I want to change this again to Slack tasks. So we have 1,400 Slack tasks that we've made. I've never actually seen that number. So I'm going to be learning a lot of things today too as I build this, because we just haven't done data analysis on this. So let's do a field summary. I don't care about the name. Let's count the unique. So there's, interestingly enough, there's 1,300 unique names, but the timestamps is going to be the most unique attribute. So whenever we make a task, it gets a unique timestamp that actually comes from Slack. So I'm going to just see this. So this is total tasks made. And we can say from Slack to Notion. So if we want, maybe towards the end, I can actually show what that system looks like. Just reacting with an emoji face and how that ends up creating a Notion task. I don't have those windows ready right now, so I'm just going to keep doing this. But if there's interest in that, we can certainly do it. So let's do that. So this is going to be all total tasks made. Let's make another one, and we're going to make, this is going to be Slack tasks, and we're going to filter this one. So actually, you know what? Sometimes it's easier to just duplicate the existing block instead of creating a new one. So I'm going to do that here because I don't really want to configure the unique timestamps again. What I do want to configure is the specific records. So I'm going to add a condition, and this should look really familiar, right? This is the same.
So this is like a filter.
Yeah, same filter that's in the data side. Exactly. So we're going to say filter to created date. And this created date is actually the created date in Airtable. So when the record was created, this is what I care about. And I'm going to say is, we'll say the number of days ago, and we're going to do 100 days ago. Oh, is exactly a number of days ago, is within the number of days ago is the thing that we need. Oh, the next number of days that will get us.
Hi, Petrus. It's great to see all the people from the community coming into this space every Thursday. I love Thursdays, and you guys are awesome for being here.
So this is going to be total tasks made. This is going to be last 100 days task made. From Slack to Notion. And let's do one more. That is just going to be the last 30 days. Let's do the last 30 days. So I can do this here, just shifting this record from 100, swap that to 30, and there we go, 83. This is also a little bit too long for this. We can just say last 100 days. Obviously, it's task made. And last 30 days, I'll update this one too. And we'll do one more for the last 7 days. But you see how this bumps down, and I actually can't. Oh, I can. In this case, we can. So never mind. I was just going to show the ability to swap this to wide. This is one of the really nice things about the interfaces. They're pretty good about allowing the structure to translate between a wide and narrow interface.
Is that because they're responsive to the screen?
They are. So there is an intent, I believe, with Airtable that all of these interfaces will be able to be used on mobile eventually. So I don't know if that's a this year thing or if that's a next year thing, but you in the last couple of months, if you've been using interfaces or sort of seen or heard about them, there's a lot of potential in interfaces to be really the thing that's going to run your internal operations for the company. In addition to everything else, right? But the connectivity of Airtable is just particularly helpful. So in this case, you're designing this grid layout and this really responsive layout of each individual item, right? I can put it on top or move it down or below or rearrange it really easily. This should be visible on mobile as well, hopefully in the near future. So let's call this just some numbers. We'll just call it graphs and numbers. And now let's get some graphs in there. So on the chart element, this is a really important element and one that I think will be pretty helpful for you. So, all right, let's see what we're looking at. Right now in the chart element, we'll do Slack tasks here. Great. 55 are checked. What the heck does that mean? This is just part of the default. Like the x-axis, just to my understanding, picks a random field. I have no idea why Kate's triage. Triage was like the selected field, but that's not really what we're interested in. What we're most interested in is let's do assigned by. Good. So this has luckily obscured everybody's name with their Slack ID, which is pretty useless for anyone watching this, but it's still I think applicable. You can see, there's one particular user that has made a lot of tasks in comparison to the other users, but we're talking about hundreds of tasks. So this is the lifetime. The lifetime of all tasks being created. So
that's a one very productive and proactive user.
It's probably a lot of tests, if I'm honest, right? So I think the discrepancy here could be visualized, but that's okay. So let's do distinct, and we're going to group by. We could group by. Let's see what happens when we group by timestamp. Yeah, we don't want that. Timestamp is totally useless. We could do by channel ID. So this is actually pretty interesting, but we're going to have a couple of different charts on here. So these are all the different channel IDs. We have them named, obviously, like the hashtag, whatever the channel name is, but just seeing, a couple different records here, we could use the channel name, but I'm going to use the ID here for demonstration purposes. You can just see the breakdown of each channel and sort of what the task creation is on it. But for a bar graph, this is too much. We don't really want that. Let's actually just keep this for now as a bar graph to see who exactly is making a lot of tasks. And let's just click around on the field summary. So the field name aggregated by distinct. Let's group by maybe assigned to. Let's group by assigned to. Let's not group by assigned to. Let's just keep it like this for now. And let's make another graph. So we're going to make another chart. You see how I just clicked on it, and now I'm not holding it down, right? I'm not clicking and dragging. You just select and then you place. They changed that actually when they came out with it, but it's okay. So now let's actually change the chart type. Let's do a donut, and I want to see what channel ID is getting the most tasks. So this is really interesting. Actually, we have all of these different channels that are getting different tasks. It's hard to read because the channel ID. We're not going to use the channel name today for privacy purposes, but at least you get a breakdown in this way of where are the tasks being created inside of our infrastructure. And you can see that it's pretty well distributed, but this is also in the total history of things. So let's put a filter on this and restrict this at least to the last month. So these top numbers, I want to stay the way they are. I don't want to connect them to the filter, but I do want this date created. So let's go to created. I want this to be connected to these two graphs because I want to change, right? Let's look at the last month. Let's look at the last year. Let's look at whatever. So we're going to say date created is within. I'm going to leave that the way it is. And just like before, we need to connect this element to a couple of graphs. So connect the element. I'm going to skip these numbers and I'm just going to select the charts. So in this case, I have one filter applied to both charts. So if I say within the next number of days, no, made that mistake last time, the last number of days. And we're going to start with 7. Boom. Very different charts, right? Very different charts. So now we have basically a quarter going into one for one project, a quarter going to another project, a quarter going to a third project, and then the last quarter is really dispensed through 5, 6, 7, 6 or 7 different channels. So in the last 7 days, the work is really being allocated into 3 major projects and then another handful. And you can do the same thing. We switch this to we'll say 30 days. And you sort of see these elements change. I just want to pause right here. Are there any questions that anyone has? Because this is a pretty important piece.
100%. Feel free to drop them in the chat, whether you're watching us here on YouTube or LinkedIn as well, because I'm checking all of the channels where we're broadcasting right now. But this is incredible. I am fascinated by the visual aspect of it, because obviously I was missing, I guess, that kind of, well, not drag and drop, but kind of no codey looking like experience on Airtable. And so this is great to see, just how the graph kind of, is responsive to the data and it changes accordingly. This is really nice to see. And I'm sure I'm thinking of Jen, our head of customer experience. I'm sure she would love to have something like this. So I hope she's watching us right now, because I'm sure she'll be using this for our database. We do have a question from Jared. Would a bar graph be better to see what channel is the highest?
Let's see. Let's see. So let's look at exactly that. So update this to Slack, and then we'll update this to channel ID.
Jenny's here. She says yes. So good, Tom.
Hey, thanks for coming. Great. So we have this, and we're going to sort by the Y value. And that's how we actually get everything to be. I actually wanted to do that over here, but I always forget to do that. So swap it to the sort by X value versus Y value, ascending versus descending. That's how you flip those graphs around and just kind of see where things are happening. So this is a really interesting view. Actually, we have a couple channels that have in the mid hundreds here, and then we drop down to the high 80s. And you know what? I actually want to cut it off. We'll cut it off at 15. So let's actually sort this specific records, where actually not specific records. We want to do a field summary, and we're going to group by. No, I think it is specific records. This is where I want to do it. So we're going to add a condition where the channel ID is, oh no, the count. No, so we actually can't. This is a good teachable moment. I don't have the ability to eliminate the 13 down, because I don't have an individual field in my data that is counting the number of records with this particular channel ID. So does that make sense to everybody? This graph is sort of limited by the number of fields that I can filter by, and I can't count or restrict the visible records to be something that has 13 or more items in the database. So I would need to add another data point inside of my data tab. And we could go in here and actually add maybe a count. I'll just call it a count field for now, where we count. And because this is a couple technical layers here. This is a synced table from another Airtable base. So the count field inside of Airtable really only works for, or is designed to work for, linked records. So when you have linked records in the table, you would be able to count them. In our case, because this is a synced table, I can't sort by, or I can't count this field. I'd actually need to do that in the original table if we wanted to do that. And we don't really have enough time to get into that level of weeds, but maybe another time we will. I also want
You're
to
more than welcome to come here anytime and, share more learning. I love, I'm loving it so far. I love your pace and just your teaching style. It's very relaxing and
Thanks.
informative. So
Appreciate it. The one other thing I will share here is the AI assistant. We won't get into that today, but that is a new field type that Airtable has come out with, and it's pretty darn cool. But that's a whole other story. One other thing, we'll go back to the interfaces here, back in the numbers and graphs. Hopefully this answered your question, Jared. We can find that highest used channel here. So on the appearance side, this is something that I think is less well known or understood. You have quite a bit of formatting options, so you could switch the theme to something different on a pie graph where there's more going on. Switching to a different design actually does make a difference, as opposed to just using the default. But the default's not that bad, so it's okay on that.
I think we had a comment on that on LinkedIn. Let me see. Yeah, Catherine Waller, she says wish list, truly custom colors on charts.
Yeah, there's not a way to do that. Although I will say, maybe we could actually, I'll just show this now, and maybe we'll do a live test. So if I do a single select field, and we'll just say, color demonstrations, we can say, this will be blue, and this will be sky, and this will be green, and this will be darker green, I guess, and a yellow. Fantastic. One of the things you can do in here, and I'll just pick a couple random ones here, you can do with an interface is you have the ability to actually pick the color that's used inside of the multi-select field. So, for example, I'll just make this. I'll just make blue black for this, for fun. And we can make a new element in here. We'll make a new chart, and I'll put this as a pie graph. I wish this add elements window just closed a little bit, but that's okay. We do that. And then under the appearance, if we use that data from Slack and we say color demonstration, I think use colors from base.
Nice. That's a nice workaround. Good hack.
Yeah. So you can at least do that. That's as custom color as you get. So if we take the black and we go back to blue, at least that is something you can do. But yeah, I hear you. It's really not a custom. It's really not a custom color. The designer in me would love that. The ability to actually do that, and there it is, blue again.
But that's so cool that you were able to find this kind of like workaround. That's nice.
There's a lot of little things like that. A lot of little things.
Proper Airtable nerding out here.
Yeah. Yeah, you want that to be that shade of green or blue or whatever? There you go. There you go.
Jared says, is AI assistant on Pro or Enterprise? And I think Petros replied,
yeah, it is in the
beta.
Enterprise beta. Yeah, it is in Enterprise beta right now. It does. We're lucky enough to be on the inside list for that, but so like there's some obviously like restrictions with it. The AI assistant like is not accessible on the interface. It cannot be automatically triggered through any automations. It's really limited in what it can do right now, but it's also very fast, and it's very useful for certain tasks. Right now, we have our whole CRM based on Airtable, and one of the things is we can have a huge list of emails that we have gone back and forth with somebody. There's literally just a button we click now that says summarize email chain for everyone who has access to our CRM. Everyone can do that and see that summary, and we can draft a new response if we wanted to. Be able to
we
send
definitely
that.
need to get you back for another walkthrough.
Yeah, the AI stuff and the CRM we put together is something that I'm particularly happy about. It's really, I think it's pretty cool. Blending email, calendar events, meeting notes from those calendar events, and phone calls and texts. So we have a voice over IP system. We use Twilio, and we're actually just switched from Yodel.io to Aircall.io, and we can have people call in and answer the phone through Slack, or answer the phone on the computer, and then have multiple team members listen in on the call. We could record the call.
That's so cool.
Get it transcribed.
I'm gonna share it in the chat.
Yeah, it all comes together. So
that's amazing. I'm sure Phil at NoCodeOps would be very interested to have a peek into your CRM.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. So the other graph types really aren't. I pretty much only use bar and donut. To be honest, like line graph or scatter plot, like really is not super useful, and you can tell there's very, very restricted items. It's really not the most robust data visualization tool out there, but it is showing the handful of items inside of the database, which is super useful. So let's take a look at some other elements that I think might be useful here. Actually, this is what I wanted to make sure I didn't forget. So in the calendar, let's go back to the calendar, and let's actually add a button. So buttons are really neat in Airtable interfaces. So I'm going to put it way at the top, and I'm going to call it. I'm actually going to add a destination here. Where I'm just looking at the other screen for a second because I'm snagging my task maker from my XRay workflow board, which is a whole other demo we can do.
All right, you're booked for the whole month.
So I'm going to add a destination. It's to an Airtable form. We're going to open this in a new tab, and I'm going to make it a green button, and I'm going to name it Create New Task. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Why can't I resize it? Here we go. Oh, look at that. So this is actually just new. I didn't even realize. This top bar seems to be locked navigation. You like a new navigation bar. See how there's like a new line that gets added below it? I can't make this bigger, but I'm willing to bet that if I said create a new task and I said it twice, right, that is just going to expand. Okay, there's the upper limit on how big you can make that button. But in my case, I wonder
if they're creating that in having because I can see the grid as well, the way that it's laid out. I wonder if they're doing that thinking for future websites or web apps. Like I'm seeing it as a designer, like, oh, okay, there's a button there and it should be there on the top left, and some other links are gonna go on the right.
Airtable is super committed to building internal tools. And that's why you see Softer, for example, come out, right? They haven't been acquired yet, right? Like they're still very much so their own company, just focusing on external Airtable use cases. And from my understanding, Airtable is laser focused on internal use cases only. And that's one of the reasons that you're able to really see like the enterprise adoption of Airtable. I think their use cases are just super, super clear. So let's get into this button stuff, because buttons are a really important functionality of Airtable interfaces, but they're also like strangely limited and different than the buttons inside of data. So I'd imagine these are going to get tangled together at some point in the future, but right now they are two very distinct and different things. So I just want to go over them a little bit. So right now, added this create a new task button. When I click this, I don't know if this is going to show on the live stream. I don't think it does. Let me see if I can just share. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll do this. Copy, and I'll do this.
Oh,
and you can't get the
the
second
mobile
tab. No, I split my screen, but you can't see that.
Yeah, no, I think you can share one tab at a time.
It's okay. Yeah, one tab at a time. Hey, this works. This just went to here. You know what? I'll do it this way. This went here. So this is our Notion task maker. It's a quick survey for creating to-dos. You can quickly assign people, good tasks have descriptions, bad tasks is like survey updates. Like that's a bad task. Don't make a bad task. So this is one of the ways that people can make tasks at X-Ray. So you can add a task title. You can pick from any of the projects we actually have in Notion. We sunk into an Airtable base, so you can just pick them as you will. You can assign a task owner, and it's just by our emails. Assign a due date. You have the nice date picker here in Airtable. Assign it a priority, and then define who you are. So as soon as you click submit, this will then create a task inside of Notion. The reason that we do it that way, instead of just, why don't you just go to Notion and create a task, right? Like a normal person using Notion. The reason that we do it that way is because we have a tremendous number of parameters and fields inside of our task database. And this way we can insert a whole bunch of defaults. So by default, it takes, it's a week due date. By default, it's tagged to, the project is tagged to the same client or member that we have. We call them members here at X-Ray, but everyone knows them as clients, right? So we just add a whole bunch of those defaults that are configurable inside of the automation that facilitates that. So we create tasks primarily in Slack and leverage a whole bunch of those defaults through a survey, which will leverage a whole bunch of the defaults, or you can go directly to the project and create a task there. But back to buttons. So this is where the destination of this is right now. Pops open that survey. Okay, cool. Let's make another button and talk about the other options. So the other options here are update a record, copy link to record, delete record, apply record template. This is a new one. I think the Airtable.
Yeah, what's that one for?
Yeah. So apply template record. I don't have one in here. We need to add a couple other things to this. So we need to add a record picker to be able to use this. So if I add a record picker and we go to Slack and I just pick a random record, and I think I can do this now. Right. So now that I have the record picker picked, like you have to have a record picker element in order to use the apply record template, because just like you connected the filter, you connect the record picker to a button. So now I'm going to add a template. I don't have a template in here. And it's a synced table database. So like, I don't think you can't create a new record in that table. It's just not possible. Like we can go in here just to show you. You can't, there's no ability, add more. It's going to talk about views, right? This isn't
not yet, at least. You can't do that in a synced
you
view.
You will be able to, but right now you can only edit if you enable two-way sync. So
tell us what you know, Tom.
Yeah, there's another option. Whatever. We're not going to go there today.
Tell us all your secrets from the Airtable little elves.
there's just like, there's so many little things. So go to previous or next record. This would be more useful for an element like the detailed view, right? When it had the list view on the right, and then you can see all the attributes. By and large, I'll tell you the two you need to know, right? It's open external URL and run automation. Those are the two things that actually like really, really work well. That's like the vast majority of buttons that I create. I either have it run in automation or go to an external URL. Yeah, two-way sync is enterprise only, but two-way sync is also like very new. Like Airtable is really good about releasing, I think, really powerful features at the enterprise level, and then getting it refined and right before it goes down to like a pro level.
Yeah.
Like two-way sync has a lot of quirks. Like you can't use an automation to update a table that is two-way sync from the second table that you're syncing it to. Like even though it's two-way sync, you can still only use automations on the original table to update
Right.
information in both ways. Like there's a bunch of those like little things. So let's actually run an automation from this, and you actually have to choose an automation. You see a bunch of automations we have, none of which are able to be connected to this button. So let's create a new automation. This is going to be a interface tutorial button, and we'll continue inside of our automations. We're just going to close all these, and you notice that we use a lot of emojis here, and just defining, writing down using sections is just best practice that we have. So when a button is clicked in the interface, let's do something, right? Now you can send a Slack message, or connect to Salesforce, or send a text, or you can do any of these things inside of the automation when you click a button. And depending on whether or not you connect this interface or connect this button to a specific source where there's a record picker, you may or may not actually have data a part of that button click. So in other words, if we go to this interface tutorial automation, that opened in a new tab.
Yeah, we're still looking at
So
your
if we're
Airtable.
Oh, whoops. How many? Okay, this is the tab.
Yeah.
So if I go into here, and we choose record, right? I'll just choose a record here. The thing about triggering an automation with an interface button is you may or may not even need this test data, right? Sometimes you want to click a button to immediately go do a search, find something in a particular view, and then go, do the rest of the automation. In this case, you get the data, the fields that you can attach from the record picker, because we had already connected that. And again, the design buttons, I wish there were more too. Pretty colors are nice. But I think that's pretty much it for what we could cover today. I'm happy to show in just a few minutes, if I can stop the share and share again in a minute. I'm happy to show exactly what the Slack task maker is for us, if that is of interest to anybody on the stream.
Absolutely. I think it will be, because we looked at the whole structure, which is exciting, but it's always nice to see, okay, how is this meant to work? At the end of the day, what is it that we can achieve? So I think it'd be great if you can show us, and we can take a couple extra minutes for questions as well, because I'm sure people are very intrigued by this event today, and I can speak on behalf of the community. I'm sure we want to have you back, Tom. So now you're sticking with us.
Awesome. I am happy to hear that, and happy to come by, whenever it works. All right. So let me do this. Let me just make sure. I don't know if I have reacted with a emoji in this channel yet. I'm just going to do the tutorials channel. Just want to make sure it works before I share it.
That's the beauty of live,
Oh, actually,
building live.
Yeah. I'm gonna show the full scope here. So let's go. huddle. Okay. So can I minimize this? I can. Great. All right. So let me share this in my screen share, and then I'm going to share my entire screen on screen 1. Here we go.
All right, I can see it.
Okay, cool. So this is just our tutorials channel. There's, a bunch of random stuff in here from various tutorials we've made. Check out, X-ray automation on YouTube. Make a lot of tutorials there. Anyway, we can say demo the Slack task maker, aka emoji flow, pending a landing page being made. So I just added this here, and you'll notice that we have Tom task, and Anthony task, and Matt task, and Mark task, and Kate task, and these are all different custom emojis that we've added to actually perform this action. So I'm going to react with my face, and we're going to wait a second, and we actually got a message here. What does this message say? Oh, this channel tutorials isn't configured yet. Update the Super Slack database here. So when I click on this, I'm actually taken directly to, this is the original table that we were syncing information from. I'm taken directly there. I have the channel ID, and I can select a project. So I'm going to select the, we don't have a tutorials channel. I'm just going to do the content channel. Cool, content. So now I added, basically connected the project of content, video, tutorials, blogs, articles to this specific channel. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to unreact, and I'm going to re-react and see what happens. So now, fingers crossed, live demos. Yes, we did. So we got a robot emoji here, and this robot emoji was reacted to by our robot. And then we get a Robin the Robot notification inside of the thread that says the task is ready. And you'll notice here we have, robot here, automation part 1, automation part 2. This is the literal automation that facilitates the moving of all the things, right? The creation of this process. So as we are building and as we're refining, you're able to just say, oh, that wasn't right. Let me go to this automation and fix it, right? So it's designed to be really easy to build. So when I click on the task is ready, now I'm taken to a project. And this project has me as a task owner. It's in that content, videos, blogs, channel project that we configured. Its member is X-Ray, that's us. The due date is 7 days. The project owner is Matt. He runs all our content, does an incredible job. Just
Hi, Matt.
Together. So that's that. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Right. A priority last modified by Integromat. Why that still says Integromat instead of make, I have no idea, but that's okay. The Kanban is a to-do, the project team, right? All of these things get added by default. And that just came from very simply, right here. I reacted with an emoji. We ended up creating that task, and now I can click the task template and give the task a summary and take some task notes. And this is how we manage tasks at X-Ray.
Let me just give you.
Thank you.
And I guess for operations, it's so important to have such a clean flow. And we had data up until now that was great to have, but such a hard work to do to make sure that everyone understood the data or communicate whatever you're modifying or all of that. So all these little updates, the interfaces, the flows, the automations are really streamlining operations nowadays. And it's so inspiring to see companies like yours really making the most out of it all. So thank you so much, Tom. Not only for coming here today and kind of giving us this small masterclass on Airtable interfaces, but also showing us what really could be done with all this power. So
yeah, it's absolutely a pleasure. Happy to help and get connected to anyone watching, and thank you everybody for participating in the comments and asking some questions. It's always always happy to help. Some new builders and old builders and people just trying to really save some time during the day, right? Like that's why we're here.
100%. Do you have 5 minutes extra for some questions if we have some
Sure.
in the chat?
Yeah.
Awesome.
What's going on?
All right, so people, any last burning questions, drop them in the chat right now. I do have some questions that have been submitted to the event. So one of them being by Chris. What are the limitations of interfaces? Can I build real internal applications?
That's a good question. There are a lot of limitations, and I think Airtable markets them as apps. Um, it requires a lot of logic in the data layer to really function as an app. I would not put it in the same category as Bubble, or Softer, or WeWeb, or Glide, or any of those. Like, the interfaces really are designed to take a very thin layer of information from your data layer and just display it. Like that's going to be the most effective use cases for Airtable interfaces, is just to say, hey, you have a ton of fields and you have a ton of records in your data table. Instead of making 1,000 different views of that data, make an interface that's a little bit more flexible and a little bit more manipulatable. But the sort of loop of information that you're used to with applications, like I entered something, I clicked a button, I get something new on the other side, like that's not really the best use case for Airtable interfaces, at least not right now. It's much more of a browser of records, to just understand what is inside of a data table. And it's great if like you're the builder and you're trying to share with a team of 15 people that you just don't want to touch and mess up anything inside of data, right? You just want them to look at stuff and be really
look how pretty it is.
Yeah. That's the use case. Is like, don't get in the data tab, just be in the interfaces tab, and like you'll be okay. You're right. If you're doing that with your internal team, that's going to be the best use case for you.
Yeah, which is why like I think they're kind of moving towards more of that front end, just for this purpose of like showing people, this is how it works.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like an example of a real, so I'm going to take out the word internal application there, and like, can I build a real application with just Airtable interfaces? The short answer is no. You can build a real application using Softer on top of your Airtable data. So there's a couple examples of stuff that we've built that uses Softer directly. You can check out an example at XRay.systems/debrief. That is a summary and transcription AI-based application that we made using Airtable backend and Softer frontend. There's also summary.legal. That is a legal application that we made to help transcribe and summarize depositions or court recordings for lawyers and attorneys. That's also, you have a free trial on that. But both of those are Airtable backend data, database, and then a Softer front end. So that's what I would consider, a real application.
100%. Question from Alexis Kovalenko. What's your favorite feature in interfaces?
Really depends on the data that you're using, but I think my favorite feature is probably the button, because it's just so flexible. And maybe this is a non-answer, but like non-features that it has, like it's just really specific with what it tries to do, and doesn't try to do everything. So like the limitations that it does have, I think, gives you like a fall down checklist. So it's like, hey, the example of, hey, I wanted to filter out a certain subset of records at some point during our time today. I couldn't do that without adding another field to the data side. And like, there's a lot of circumstances where interfaces will intentionally like omit a feature that can have a workaround to be done in another way. And I just really applaud the thoughtfulness of like, cherry picking features that they want to add first, and still enabling use cases that just require workarounds. for like being specific, right? So buttons is a really good example of that, being able to trigger an automation to change or manipulate or snapshot data in a particular way. So I think that's probably my favorite feature right now.
Awesome. And I guess our last question from Gabriel Newman. What is the best way to start learning about interfaces?
Hopefully you learned some things today.
Mhm.
I'd say today was a good first step. We're going to be coming out with a much more detailed interfaces tutorial on YouTube on X-ray automation at on YouTube. We've made a Airtable beginner's guide. We touch on interfaces. We touch on automations. We touch on data and linked records and all that stuff. So I'd say start by watching the Airtable beginner's guide. There's 2 parts to that. It's a pretty in-depth review. There's just a lot of stuff to cover. But we're going to be coming out with a dedicated interfaces tutorial pretty soon.
Fantastic. And I would also add, if you're not part of our community yet, definitely do join us. It's free, and you'll be joining hundreds of other operators just like yourselves. And so if you do have any questions, or if you're struggling on some specific topics, or you would like to learn more about some features, do let me know, and I'll make sure that I invite amazing speakers just like Tom here today to satisfy your requests. So, Tom, thank you so much once again for being here with us today, for being a part of our community as well. It's been incredible to have you, and I'm so happy that you're there with us. And I do hope to see you again in our YouTube channel as well. And I do highly recommend check out X-Ray Automation on YouTube, and just in general, connect with Tom because he's amazing. And we had an hour worth of proof to show you that.
Well, thank you. It was really, really great to be here. Awesome community to be a part of. So make it easy.
Amazing. Well, everyone, you take care and have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, and I'll see you in our Discord.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.